The format of this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, a 10-minute coffee break, and then a main speaker. Tonight, our first speaker is Brent. Please help me welcome Brent to the stage.
My name is Brent, I'm alcoholic. Just real quick. Alright, so my sobriety date is February 22nd, 2018, and just picked up a year. I'm really grateful to be out here in Prescott, although I really do not want to be speaking tonight. It's hands down the most terrifying thing in the world for me to do right now. I'm trying everything not to just kind of like get down from the podium and like walk out the door. You know, as soon as I started getting closer to my year, the guy that asked people to speak here, I've been like frequently avoiding his phone calls, and every time I see him, I've been keeping it like really brief because I like really did not want to do this, and I knew he was going to ask me one of these days. But I guess my sponsor, you know, beat him to it. Told me I'm going to speak 10 minutes tonight a week ago. Told me to not forget and to mark it on my calendar, and I was like, don't worry, I'm going to probably think about it every single second throughout the next week. So here I am, and so I'm only speaking 10 minutes. So I guess I'll just talk about my story a little bit. I'm from the Bay Area. Yeah, I had to say that. Thanks for everyone who came out here to support me. I appreciate it a lot. I don't have to do this by myself anymore. You know, I'm always trying to do things on my own. I'm always trying to manage my life on my own. Any kind of suggestion anyone gives me, you know, I'll tell them, you know, thanks for the information, but I'll take it from here. And I constantly cause harm to myself and others every time, you know, I'm trying to manage my own life. And no matter how hard I try, I cannot stop from picking up a drink. I've been in these rooms since I'm 18. I'm 28 now, so it's been about 10 years, and I've been in and out of treatment centers and psych facilities. Been 5150'd in California multiple times, and which is I guess called Title 36 out here. And I've been diagnosed at an early age: ADD, ADHD, borderline personality disorder, bipolar. I've been given all kinds of medications. I've always been told something's wrong with me. I was separated from my class in elementary school and went to like kind of like the smaller class for people that have learning disabilities. I was also told I have dyslexia and auditory processing and all this stuff, so I couldn't study in a normal environment. So I was like pretty isolated and felt different from a really young age all through elementary school. That's where I started to learn to put on a front. I started living a double life, and 4 years in a row, I got voted most outstanding Christian student in my class, but I was like really just like a terrible like kid. As soon as I got back home, you know, I was like vandalizing and, you know, harassing my brother and my parents, you know, and I don't know, I just, I can't really explain why. I truly believe I've been an alcoholic since, you know, I was born in this world. You know, I've been addicted to all kinds of stuff, Pokemon cards, you know, magic cards, video games, gambling, relationships. I pretty much stole, lied, you know, did whatever I could to get what I want because I wanted that instant kind of feeling of just contentment because I always felt like I was different. I always felt like there's this void gone, and I always felt like so alone throughout my life. And so when I first drank in high school, like I started to feel like I could become this person that I truly desired to be. And so I, you know, came out here 2011, so I've been in this town for close to 8 years. In October, it'll be about 8 years. I did not plan on being out in this town this long at all. You know, they kind of call it like the black hole. Press is kind of like a black hole. You kind of get sucked in here. But, you know, I'm totally all right with that. I hated it for the first year or two, but I really started to grow to really like this town, and I've met some amazing people in this town. And I think I started to realize that, like, I thought, like, me being an alcoholic was just from my consumption of alcohol. I didn't really understand that like I could still be a really chronic alcoholic without booze, and I was almost worse than I was when I was drinking. I caused the same amount of harm in sobriety when I'm not practicing the spiritual principles of this program and working the 12 steps. I became obsessed with the materialistics, women, work, working out, money. I wanted to have all this material stuff, cars. I wanted to have all this stuff in my life, and I'd get this stuff and I'd feel really good for a little bit. I feel on top of the world, but as soon as I started to lose it, I felt like I went back to like feeling in like my, first 30 days of sobriety. And I've had a couple years before in this town, and it got to a point where even with a few years of sobriety, I started selling weed because I was in a relationship with a woman who was constantly smoking a lot of weed and doing meth, and which I wasn't really aware. I was aware of it, but I just didn't want to admit it. And that was hell. I put myself through that for 3 years, and I caused a lot of harm in that area of my life. And then I happened to just see her in AA like 2 months ago, which was like the craziest thing, because I was just like, I didn't think I was ever going to see her again. But I started to realize that like I believed that I was powerless over alcohol, and alcohol made my life unmanageable. But I didn't believe that my life was unmanageable without it. I believe I could still control my life. I still believe I could run the show, and I could do what I want. And I haven't fully surrendered. The bottoms I've hit in sobriety. I've been in psych facilities before. I think I was like a year sober. I went to a psych facility because I was trying to manage again, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I overcame the desire to drink, but like the thought of suicide was still there. And I was like, well, I know what drinking is going to bring me, so I might as well just not be here anymore. And then I started to realize that like I believed in a power greater than myself, but I didn't believe it could restore me to sanity. I didn't have any hope in my life. I wasn't honest with my sponsor. I wasn't honest on my 4-step. I got to a point where I would write everything down on my 4-step, and then I would go over it, and I would skip over certain things. And so I still held on to certain things, and I was going to bring that stuff to my grave. So I never really actually gave the steps a shot for 10 years in this program, And it wasn't until recently, till I finally got honest 100% on my 5th step and started to become willing to make certain amends, because I'm starting to realize this is kind of like, being an alcoholic, it's like having a death sentence. If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to die, and it could happen tomorrow, it could happen 30 years from now. But I started to get in touch with that. That if I'm untreated and if I don't practice these steps and the principles, that I won't stand a chance, having a happy life, and or free at all. That's another thing about freedom. I used to think freedom was, like I talked about, was a lot of the materialistic stuff, and I'm starting to realize it's freedom of self. It's the freedom of the insanity, of the judgments, of what I think of other people, or what I feel that other people think of me. I care tremendously about what people think about me, and I will do whatever it takes for people to look at me a certain way. I don't want people to see for who I truly am, and it's the most terrifying thing once you kind of let go of this facade and this double life, and you start to you don't even know who you are. It literally feels like you're dying. It's like they call it. It's like there's a term people use, life after death, and it's like your old self is dying, and you start to you don't even know who you are, and you start to figure out what you're passionate about, what you start to love, and you start to be this person that I never truly knew who I was, and I wouldn't be able to do this without letting a higher power into my life. I wouldn't be able to do any of these steps without that. No human power can relieve me of my alcoholism, and I have to seek and get in touch with a power greater than myself to be able to even stand a chance. And I struggle daily with this disease, and there's still, days where fear owns me, and I'm still trying to manage, even though like I can have some drastic thing happen. The next day, I'll have this crazy spiritual experience. The next day, I forget, and I wake up and I'll do the same thing. And so I'm just going to end with this. Recently, what alcoholism looks in my life right now is my whole life, or since I was 7th grade, I've worn contacts, and I've never really taken them out. I mean, I would go through a pair every 3 months or so, and I'll keep one pair in for a few months, and constantly people were taking me to take them out, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to do what I want. And recently, got I guess a coronary ulcer in my coronary because I left one of my contacts in for too long or something, and I ended up my eye got infected or something. So I ended up going to the urgent care doctor, and they told me, "Oh, just use this antibiotic. I'm not sure what it is." So just make sure you get checked up with an eye doctor. And so I said, okay, I'll use the antibiotic, but I'm going to hold off on the eye doctor. And then after going to the eye doctor yesterday, I found out, I have my eye's pretty damaged from that, and I could possibly go blind, in my left eye. And, I walked around yesterday, I was just got diagnosed with something where I was going to die in 6 months. I was just being dramatic and just walking around, and I remember getting my contacts and the ladies, and I was just I just got the worst diagnosis. I was just just milking it for an hour, and I finally called my sponsor, and then it kind of snapped out of it. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's all in the moment. Right now I have my eyesight, and that's great, but it's and I was grateful for that, so I didn't have to walk around for the rest of the day, what I was doing, it's just, and, that's a lot what I did in my alcoholism, I would go to doctors, they would put me on medication, I would go to church, and, seek religion, and they would constantly tell me to go to AA, and I was like, I'm good, and it'd get to a point, where there's just, if I waited long enough, who knows, I could, have seriously injured myself in a car accident, I could be paralyzed, I could be dead, and so it was just kind of a weird metaphor, I guess, of what my alcoholism was like, it's I didn't want to listen, and I wanted to do my own way, and because of that, with my contacts, I possibly could lose some serious eyesight in my left eye, and that's just a prime consequence of this disease, but it's today, like I said, I don't have to do this on my own. I have a lot of people in my life, and I have God in my life, and I'm able to do things that I would never have thought I could ever do. Fear doesn't own me. 100% of the time, I would say 50%, and I'm able to do things like dance sober and go out and do things that I never thought I could. I'm able to get relationships back, which is great. I'm able to look at my side of the street and my part in situations. I blame the whole entire world for my disease and for my alcoholism, and being able to look at my part and to make the amends to the people that I truly hated, or at least I thought I did, and not have any more of resentment I carry towards them is one of the most freeing experience I have, and that's, and it's if you're new here tonight, just stay. You don't ever have to take a drink again or a drug, and you can have an amazing life. And when I can't hear God, I normally look to people, because that's where I can hear God, and that's why I come to these rooms. So with that, I pass. Thanks.
Thanks, Brent.